I'm Dambisa Moyo. I'm a global economist and an author. This series talks about the global markets, global economics, and geopolitics, and how it affects your world. I'm here to talk to you about elections and increasing geopolitical risk. 2016 was a banner year. Not only did we see the Brexit vote, but we also saw the election of an outside candidate, Donald Trump, to be President of the United States. In 2017, we have the French elections and the German elections, which many people are worried could threaten the viability of the European construct. One of the things that people have tended to focus on in this last 18 months has been concerns around mounting populism, particularly in developed countries. It's become so extreme that according to a study from the World Economic Forum in 2016, voters and citizens who live in authoritarian states trust their leaders more than voters and citizens who live in democratically elected economies. The situation has become so aggressive in terms of the rise of populism and the destabilizing nature of geopolitics that there are estimates today that the average amount of time that the head of state remains in office in the G20 countries has gone from almost 7 years in the past several decades to just 3 years in the past several years. So what does increasing political risk and shorter tenures mean for the prospects of public policy? One could argue that there's much more volatility because short-termism means that we're not really committed to many of the public policy decisions that will be made today. In this environment, there's a real concern around volatility, both politically and socially, and the stability of the world going forward. To be sure, the rise in populism and disaffection by many of our fellow citizens should not be surprising. Over many decades, real wages have gone down. Participation rates as part of the workforce have considerably gone down also. The incidence of single-parent households, drug use, concerns around decline in mortality have increased so significantly that many people have become skeptical about the importance of democracy, but also very skeptical about whether or not market capitalism can deliver improvements in living standards. As we look to the future and looking at ways to improve democracy, one thing really stands out. A friend of mine who runs one of the largest domestic unions in the United States found that although 95% of the union members, largely Latino, thought that they would vote for Hillary Clinton, less than 3% of them were actually going to vote. When probed as to why they were not going to vote, many of them argued that the cost of voting was far too prohibitive. It's also worth noting that over 68% of Americans whose income is under $30,000 did not vote in the 2014 election. One of the considerations that we need to think about in terms of giving people the traditional one man, one vote is figuring out how to deliver solutions, particularly from technology, on how people have better access and quality opportunities to vote. Geopolitical risk and political uncertainty will unfortunately continue to dominate the world economy in the years to come. As we think about the ways to navigate that volatility, there are two things we should think about. One is timing, the other is the trajectory of public policy making. In terms of timing, for example, take Brexit, we know that Article 50 needs to be triggered and given a window of 2 years for that transition process to occur. At this point in time, we don't know exactly how that process will actually unfold. In terms of policy trajectory, one of the great concerns that I've spoken about previously in the Global Snapshot series is that there is a movement towards greater deglobalization. And unfortunately, because living standards continue to deteriorate around the world, governments are becoming much more inward-looking. Let me know what you think about the challenges to democracy, political instability, and populism that we're seeing across developed countries today. Share your thoughts with me by using the hashtag #DearDambisa.